Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudiraye Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttamashloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naisthiki. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 8, Chapter 7, Text 8. Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshvaro Duranta Viryo Avitabhisandhihi Krutva Vapuh Kachchapamadbhutam Mahat Pravishyato Girimujjahara. Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshvaro Duranta Viryo Avitabhisandhihi Krutva Vapuh Kachchapamadbhutam Mahat Pravishyato Girimujjahara. Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshvaro Duranta Viryo Avitabhisandhihi 8. Krutva Vapuh Kachchapamadbhutam Mahat Pravishyato Girimujjahara. Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshvaro Duranta Viryo Avitabhisandhihi Krutva Vapuh Kachchapamadbhutam Mahat Pravishyato Girimujjahara. Hare Krishna. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. Jai Srila Prabhupada. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain. Please repeat. Seeing the situation that had been created by the will of the Supreme, the unlimitedly powerful Lord, whose determination is infallible, took the wonderful shape of a tortoise, entered the water, and lifted the great Mandara mountain. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. Here is evidence that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the supreme controller of everything. As we have previously described, there are two classes of men, the demigods and the demons and the demigods, but neither of them are supremely powerful. Everyone has experienced that hindrances are imposed upon us by the supreme power. The demons regard these hindrances as mere accidents or chance, but devotees accept them to be acts of the supreme ruler. When faced with hindrances, therefore, devotees pray to the Lord, Tatte anukampam susamikshmano bhunjana evatma kritam vipakam. Devotees endure hindrances accepting them to be caused by the Supreme Personality of Godhead and regarding them as benedictions. Demons, however, being unable to understand the Supreme Controller, regard such hindrances as accidental. Here, of course, the Supreme Personality of Godhead was present personally. It was by His will that there were hindrances, and by His will those hindrances were removed. The Lord appeared as a tortoise to support the great mountain. Kshitiriha vipulatare tava tisthati prushthe. The Lord held the great mountain on his back. Keshava dhruta kurma sharira jaya jagadisha hare. Dangers can be created by the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and they can also be removed by Him. This is known to devotees, but demons cannot understand it. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport. Om Ajnanatimirandhasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Sri Gurave Namaha. Namo Om Vishnupadaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swamin Iti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvisesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine. Jai Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhara Sri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. Jai Srila Prabhupada. So this is the verse which comes at the time when this churning of the milk ocean is happening. One side the demons and one side the demigods. They are churning with Vasuki as the rope. And this mountain falls down, the Mandara mountain, because of not having proper support. So it's a big hurdle, obviously, big obstacle, big hindrance that is now upon them. And now at this juncture, this verse comes. So the Lord is also there along with the demigods. So he saw this happened, and now it is described what he is thinking or what has happened eventually. Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshwara. You can stop that. You can, if you want, you can close that. Vilokya Vignesha Vidhim Tadeshwara means he saw that Vilokya, and it is a great Vigna. Vigna means obstacle. So he saw that obstacle being presented. And how is it regarded as? Isha Vidhim. It is ordained by Isha, the Supreme Lord. So that obstacle, the Vigna, has been presented by the will of the Supreme Lord. Vigna Isha Vidhim. And Tada, at that time, Ishvaraha, the Supreme Lord, who is described by these two adjectives. How he is described? Duranta Viryaha Avitabhisandhihi. Ishvara, the Supreme Lord, has Duranta Virya. He is inconceivably powerful. Duranta Viryaha. And Avitabhisandhihi means his determination cannot be shaken. Extraordinarily determined. So the Isha, who is the Duranta Viryaha Avitabhisandhihi, what did he do? Krutva Vapuhu. He has assumed a form, Vapuhu. Kachapam Adbhutam. Kachapam means the form of a tortoise. The great tortoise, not ordinary tortoise. Kachapam Adbhutam, Mahat, very great. And then Pravishya Toyam. He entered the water. Toyam, he entered the water for the purpose of Girim Ujjahara, in order to lift the mountain and place it on his back. Now Prabhupada in the purport, he mentions that when hindrances come in our path, there are two classes of people, the demons and the demigods. The demons are those who don't accept the authority of the Supreme Lord. The demigods are those who accept. So how do they view these hindrances? So how do the demons view the hindrances as? Anybody noticed in the purport? As accidents or by chance. As we know from Prabhupada's purports, that there is nothing called accident or chance. Even a blade of grass does not move without the will of the Lord. Trinamapi na chalati. Everything is, there is a purpose behind everything. They tell a moral story about how there was this king who was not a great believer in God, but the minister was a great devotee. So for everything that happens, the minister says, "Oh, the Lord is great. There must be some purpose to this." And the king would say, "No, what are you saying? It is we who create our destiny, and we have to overcome obstacles that come somehow by chance or by accident. Things come, and we have to overcome it. We are powerful." And the minister keeps on to his standing. And it so happens that one time the king goes for hunting, and he gets attacked by an animal, and then he loses his finger also, and then somehow survives the attack, and he comes back, and then he explains this horrible incident, and then the minister comes, and he says, "Oh, the Lord is great. You survived, and there must be some purpose." And the king becomes so upset. "What do you mean there must be some purpose? Such an horrible thing happened, and you think God has done this wantedly? Why would God try to kill me? Why would the Lord take off my finger? And in spite of that, you believe that this has been done for my good, for a good purpose?" And the minister stays silent. And then the king goes to the hunting again after some time. This time, these tribal people who live in the jungle, they ambush him, attack him, and before the king could fight back, they capture him. And they have this gory tradition where they offer humans in sacrifice. And so they think, oh, they found a good person, a king, and they have taken him to the sacrifice. And they're about to sacrifice, and then they find that one part of the body is missing. And according to their tradition, they cannot offer incomplete body. So they release him. "Okay, you're off, you're saved." And then the king comes back, and then he can already guess what the ministry is going to say. And then he realizes, yeah, what the minister told is true. Yeah, I've lost my finger, but I got my life. So there was really some purpose why this has happened. So in contrast to the demons, how they view hindrances as, the devotees view the hindrances as dash. As the will of the Lord. And the particular word Prabhupada used is benedictions. The devotees view the hindrances as benedictions. Maybe the Lord wants me to learn something from it. Everything is sanctioned by the Lord. Why would hindrances be given to a devotee? Maybe the Lord wants me to learn something from it. Maybe the Lord wants me to use as an opportunity for doing something. Many times we ask this question, oh, we are doing this for the Lord after all. So why the Lord is not sanctioning it? We want to build a big temple, or we want to do so many things. So it's just for the Lord only. Why He is not granting it? I'm not asking for myself. So why there are so many hindrances, so many blocks, so many roadblocks on this path? So from this, we should understand that the Lord is completely in control. Even the hindrances that come in our way, one should understand it is orchestrated by the Lord for a particular reason. Maybe we are not ready yet. Maybe if we get it without working hard, we will never learn the tricks of the trade along the path, which will be a life learning lesson for us. Maybe we should learn to become dependent. Maybe we are getting carried away by our false ego, thinking I am the doer. This is the biggest disease, isn't it? Anything we do, we usually get carried away. Oh, because of my ability, because of my prowess, because of my expertise. I'm the one who drove it. Because of me, things are running. This kind of false ego can come in. Maybe the Lord wants us to learn, no, learn to be dependent. Actually, it is better to continuously hit those obstacles and be grounded and realize that we are nothing without the mercy of the Lord. Like which personality prayed, "Wow, let constant disturbances come to me." Queen Kunti prayed. What is that shloka? Vipadaha shantutaha shashvat tatra tatra jagadguro bhavato darshanam yatsyat apunar bhavadarshanam. So let those vipadas come constantly. Let there be constant vipadas. Vipadaha santutaha shashvat, always. Why? Because bhavato darshanam, at that point, we become dependent on you. We pray to you and you appear before us. And when you appear before us, apunar bhava darshanam, we don't have to worry about our misfortune or this material attachments and entanglements. So that is the view of a devotee. So the devotees, they become, or the right attitude for a devotee is to become dependent on the Lord. And for that, the hindrances serve as a means. Now, in Bhagavad Gita, there is a shloka which is very close to this. How to always be dependent on the Lord while doing our activities. Any guesses which shloka comes close to that? How we should be dependent on the Lord. And Prabhupada actually calls, I'm giving a big clue. It was given as a last Sunday class. And Prabhupada calls this as the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. 3.30. Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya adhyatma chetasa nirashir nirmamo bhutva yudhyasva vigatadjvaraha. So what Krishna says is, and which Prabhupada calls that as the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So a very interesting purport. So here Prabhupada says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. Surrendering all your works unto me, adhyatma chetasa, with mind intent on me, nirashir nirmamo bhutva, without desire for gain, and free from egoism, yudhyasva vigatadjvaraha. Yudhyasva means fight. Vigatadjvara means becoming freed from our lethargy. So this verse is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. Why is it the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita? In the purport you see, you understand. So Prabhupada says that when Krishna says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya. Sanyasya means you give up all your activities unto me. What it actually means is, Lord instructs us that one has to become fully Krishna conscious to discharge duties as if in military discipline. Military discipline. Such an injunction may make things a little difficult. Nevertheless, duties must be carried out with dependence on Krishna. So in military, I'm sure all of you might have heard. What is a military discipline means? If somebody orders, there is first you do that before questioning. So that is military discipline. And one may think, oh, that activity seems insurmountable, so great. How can I do it? No, no, no. You depend on Krishna, not on your own mental speculation, what you think is possible. Like practically also, many of you might have experienced. Like when we were starting the temple in 2000, end of 2010, 2000, beginning of 2011, we were planning. So our budget was about $3,000 per month. That was allocated for the rent of the place. That was the maximum we could afford. And the way we arrived at that was we were calculating how much we can earn per month. Okay, we have some devotees now being cultivated, they can contribute some monthly donations, so maybe $100 a family or something like that. And then the only thing we knew very nicely at that time was distributing books. We can go out to distribute books and maybe collect $1,000 a month or little more. And then some part was allocated for hundi. Maybe hundi collection will come this much. And then it was coming, okay, maybe we can barely manage with this kind of expense. But then we were looking, there was nothing available in that range. We were getting some small, big hall, no kitchen, nothing. We wanted a kitchen. And nowhere it was to be found. And the only place we found which had some kitchen, some semblance of kitchen, which was actually a break room, not a kitchen, which we, somehow it was again Krishna's intervention, was that place in Reamwood. It was a printing press, but somehow the Lord inspired the agent to give it to us. And that the rent was $5,500. Almost double the rent that we were reading. We were wondering what to do, how to manage that double the amount. And so we had a discussion with Chanchalapati Prabhu. He said, okay, it's only 2,500, no? Take it. And completely depending on the Lord, we had no idea. And then we jumped in. And then, of course, the rent is only a little bit of portion. The actual expense is the other significant portion. But even today, I become surprised how all those calculations we did, that was so childish. Whatever we could gather with our own limited thing was only probably 15-20% of the actual expenses that we have to meet. But the Lord provided. And completely the Lord took care of things. In fact, even now, we don't know how the expenses are being met. We have so many projects going on, so many activities. The Lord is providing us. So, like that, there are several examples in our own personal case as well as in devotees' cases. You see, Madhavendra Puri. Madhavendra Puri, what had happened? He found that deity of Krishna, Gopal deity. He installed the Gopal deity on Govardhana hill. They had a big ceremony, Annakuta, and we know all of that. And so after that, he was very happy and he was taking rest one night, and Gopalji comes in his dream and he says, you see, I've been submerged in this ground for so long and my body has become very hot and I need to be cooled down. And can you go get this sandalwood pulp from Jagannath Puri, which is probably 1,000 miles. And in those days, there is no proper commute. And you have to go by foot. And it was a Mohammedan rule. And what to speak of going, even while coming, you have to take all this, probably 100 pounds of or more of this sandalwood, and how to bring it, how to escape this toll and these officers and the threatening of getting jailed and so many obstacles. But Madhavendra Puri didn't think any of that. The Lord has ordered me. For the pleasure of the Lord, I have to go get this done. And then he starts his journey on foot. And then we know he stops in one place, a famous place in Remuna, hmm? Chirchor Gopinath temple, and the Lord performs that famous pastime of stealing that kheer and then gives that to the priest and asks him, call this Madhavendra Puri, my devotee. And then that pastime happens. And then after that, he goes to Jagannath Puri, secures these sandalwood, and then comes back to Remuna. And then he'll be thinking how to plan. Now he's planning how to go back with this huge quantity of sandalwood, escaping all these Mohammedan people. And at that time he was thinking and then taking rest. And then the Lord comes, Gopalji comes in his dream again. So you see, my body is non-different from Gopinath's body. So it is okay, you take the sandalwood pulp and smear it, arrange it to be smeared on the body of Gopinath, and I'll be satisfied. My body also will be cooled. And then Madhavendra Puri, he again performs the same order. So you see, the task may seem to be extravagant, beyond our means, beyond our approach. But you depend on the Lord because the order is coming from the Lord. If the Lord is with us, then you jump in. But on our own, I imagine, no, I should do this for the Lord. Then it may become prayasa. There are 6 things to be avoided in our devotional service. What are these things? Atyaharaha, prayasascha, prajalpo niyamagrahaihi, janasangascha laulyamcha shadbir bhaktihi vinasyati. Over accumulation or overeating, over endeavoring, unnecessary gossip, not following rules and regulations, or following it only for namesake blindly, associating with worldly minded people, and greediness. So important thing is prayasa. If I take an extravagant activity without that coming from the authority system, then that is my own false ego. Then the Lord is not obliged. You're not depending on the Lord. Of course, you can still say, my Lord, I have taken this. I'm depending on you. But the Lord will question, first, why did you take that? So there should not be prayasa. But if that comes down, even if it appears like prayasa, that won't be prayasa. So Prabhupada says here, so that as if in military discipline, if it comes down, military discipline should execute with dependence on Krishna. And he says that Arjuna did not have to consider the order of the Lord. He had only to execute his order. The Supreme Lord is the soul of all souls. Therefore, one who depends solely and wholly on the Supreme Soul without personal consideration, or in other words, one who is fully Krishna conscious, is called Adhyatma Chetasa. So the Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa Nirashir Nirmamo. These are the 4 words which signify this verse, the purpose of Bhagavad Gita. So Sanyasya means what? Take in military discipline, you have to execute with dependence on Krishna. And while doing it, you have to be Adhyatma Chetasa, you have to be Krishna conscious. So this is Sanyasya Adhyatma Chetasa. And then there is Nirashir Nirmamo Bhutva. Nirashi means what? My personal ambition. I'm not going to act as I said. If I take my own personal thing, that becomes a prayasa. I should not think my own personal consideration. I may have my own things in my mind, plans. It may be actually my sense gratification. But what the Lord desires, that should be done. That is nirashihi, without personal consideration. And you may do all of these things, sanyasya, adhyatma, chetasa, and nirashihi, but you may develop a feeling of proprietorship. Yes, yes, this is all doing for the Lord. I'm not doing my own thing. But you may generate some kind of ownership, some proprietorship. So the Lord says, Nirmamo, it's not yours. So these four things are the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita. Now, the dependence, all right, so we have taken the task of the Lord, now we depend on the Lord. You can go to the other extreme. Yes, the task, maybe I gave you an example of extravagant task becoming simplified by dependence. And now the other extreme is, yes, you have taken up something, or the Lord has given you something. What is the barometer, or how do you know that you're actually not being lethargy? Because the fifth aspect of that verse is Yudhyasva Vigata Jvaraha. You do all of this becoming free from lethargy. I may sit happily and say, oh, if the Lord wills, it will happen. So, how do we know whether I have put the right amount of work? What I think is the right amount may be different from what he thinks is the right amount. You may have a goal, okay, raise $1 million. Yeah, I've done my duty, that's it. Or the other person, no, we have not done our duty. So how do we determine that it is not Vigata Jvara? We are freed from lethargy. Who determines that? Any thoughts? How do we know that we have done enough? Only we should know. So I can sit at home and, huh? You'll never be done. That's actually a right mentality. We should always think that I have not done my duty properly. We should always try to endeavor to how to do it better, from my perspective. The other way to think about that is, just like in a material field, so you're working in office. How do you know whether you've done your duty and still not be able to deliver the project? Your manager will tell you. In the performance rating, you will know whether you've done your job, and for some external reasons, things did not happen. Similarly, as long as you remain in the association of devotees, as long as you're working in cooperation with devotees, with the system given by the spiritual master, not doing things on your own, acting independently, as long as there is proper system like this, then you will know whether you have goofed up or whether you have not done, you are being lazy, or if we have done our duty. Because it's very important to understand that we should not be lazy also. Krishna is not saying, you only depend on me. Krishna is not saying that. You sanyasya, nirashir, nirmamo. He is saying, yudhyasva. With this mentality, you fight. So we should know what is my duty also. What is my line to which I should extend. And for that, we need association of devotees, our authorities. If there is something extremely wrong, that will be told. Krishna will reveal. As long as you are in the association of devotees, Krishna will reveal in the heart. Yes, this could have been done like this. Maybe we didn't put enough effort. Or we over-endeavored. Sometimes it can also happen. We over-endeavored. We tried beyond our means, and that led to failure. Can also happen. So this is the purpose of the Bhagavad Gita, which the Lord is explaining. Prabhupada had written a few letters explaining this concept of how to depend on the Lord. One time in Paris, he had a couple of devotees, Bhagavan Prabhu and Shyam Sundar Prabhu. They did not come for Mangalarti. So Prabhupada asked them, what happened? Why you did not come for Mangalarti? They said, Prabhupada, we were going to preach to an influential person, so we had to wait for their appointment. It became quite late. And we wanted an opportunity for you to go and preach there so that you can get in touch with many other influential people. So, who is she? It's a female. So the Prabhupada, she is the owner of a nightclub. Okay, so did you meet her? Yes, yes, we met her. And what did she say? No, she actually introduced us. She didn't personally help. She said she will introduce us to somebody else. Oh, so you are sent to another big person. That person sent to another big person. So like this, it got delayed. So Prabhupada, he said an instructive story to them. He said there was a lion who was facing a problem. The problem the lion was facing was it was eating this meat and a bone was stuck in his throat. Now a crane was passing by, this bird, crane, which has a long beak. And so the lion struck a deal with this crane. What is the deal? Hey, crane, you come and help me get out of this bone, and then I'll give you some benediction at the end of it. I'm the king of the jungle. And the crane was a little scared. Oh, you are lion, what if you eat me? No, 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 I'm giving you benediction. I will not eat you. On top of it, I will also give you benediction. So crane was a little encouraged and came and he did the job, took out that bone. And now the crane was looking at the lion happily, and the lion was looking at the crane very seriously. And then lion asked crane, what are you looking at me? No, you said you'll give some benediction, I'm just waiting. First of all, you put your beak into my mouth, and I did not harm you. And then you are standing here and I'm not pouncing on you. You want even better benediction than that? Get lost from my sight. So Prabhupada told that story and told these big people, they think that, oh, they are giving us some favor by introducing it to somebody. They won't help personally. They won't give any benediction. And their mentality is like that, oh, these people, I've met them and that's it. Oh, they have come for some photographs like that. That itself is a big benediction. And so don't depend on them at the cost of missing your sadhana. Depend on Krishna for your results. Don't depend on them for your results. That means if you are missing your basic sadhana and basic services, hearing, chanting, and doing something, that means you are depending on your own false ego than depending on the Lord. Prabhupada many times, he wrote another letter. I'll read this letter. Regarding your question about collecting, whatever money sent, it is all the hand of Krishna. When Krishna gives, you get. Don't be disappointed if you do not get any collection after working. Always depend on Krishna and everything will be all right. Fight and depend on the results on Krishna. Yudhyasva vigata jvaraha. Fight without being lethargic. Krishna says in the Bhagavad Gita. In Srimad Bhagavatam, in 11th canto, while describing the incarnation of Naranarayan Rishi, there appears a small pastime where Indra, as usual, becomes scared of Naranarayan Rishi because he is performing all these austerities. So he thinks that Naranarayan Rishi is an ordinary living entity. He's the Lord himself. He's an ordinary living entity trying to get his position. So Indra, what he does, he sends Cupid himself. Usually he sends some apsaras. So he sends Cupid himself, who would throw this Kama Bana along with some apsaras. And now this Cupid is coming and trying to disturb Naranarayan Rishi. And Naranarayan Rishi is, just like a children playing, right? For adults, it's a child play. What the children are playing with toys and trying to attract me with toys. So Naranarayan Rishi, from his body, is producing this beautiful living entities, apsaras, even greater than these people, and they were getting bewildered. Who are these people? They are bewildering us. And then eventually they come to understand this is not an ordinary person, this is the Lord. And then they become fearful. Oh my Lord, the Lord may not curse us. And then the Cupid and these personalities, they start to offer prayers to Naranarayan Rishi. It's a very significant prayer, very meaningful, very related to what we are discussing. So the prayer is, Tvam sevatam surakruta bahavontaraya swauko vilangya paramam vrajatam padam te nanyasya barhishi balin dadatah svabhagan dhatte padam tvamavita yadi vignamurdhni. So they say, oh Lord, see, very important. Tvam sevatam surakruta bahavontaraya. When somebody is trying to serve you, Tvam sevatam, these surakruta, these demigods, bahavontaraya, they may place a lot of obstacles in their path. Like how Cupid himself has come to disturb him. Like we know how Indra disturbs sometimes devotees of Vrindavan. He was showering these rains and all that. Sometimes Brahma also tests. Like that, these demigods, they think, oh, these people have now become greater, that they have superseded us, directly going to somebody else. So like that, they may create a lot of bhavontaraya, svam surakruta bhavontaraya. But they don't give so many disturbances to those who worship them. Swauko vilangya paramam rajatam. They don't give disturbances to their own devotees. But they are saying, my Lord, you always protect your devotees. Tvam avita. And if there is any vigna, your devotees, by your protection, they easily cross over these obstacles by walking on these vignas' heads. If these vignas are considered like obstacles having heads, by Krishna's protection, Krishna will take the devotees by making them walk on these heads. Tvam avita yadi vigna murdhni. So this is the power of the protection of the Lord. Even if there are obstacles created, not ordinary obstacles, created by the demigods, but because the Lord protects the devotees, they are considered as a stepping blocks. In fact, Jiva Goswami says that these obstacles are considered like, when devotees face obstacles, the devotees consider those like stepping stones on my path. Okay, the Lord is giving me the stepping stones on which I should step so that I am reaching my destination. So this is how the devotees view. And that is what they say. So indirectly, the Cupid is saying, my Lord, even your devotees, they don't care about our obstacles. They easily pass. So for you, it should be nothing. So please don't consider that as a big offense, that what we have done. We will be mindful from now. So like that they were praying. I'll stop here. Any questions or comments? Yeah. No, free will is how to execute the Lord's orders nicely. That is our free will. Free will is still there. Just like you cannot, even now, I want to go on the road on the left side. Where is your free will? Do you have a free will to go on the left side? Do you have a free will to cross 65 miles per hour? Yeah, so exactly. So working under the Lord's protection is meant to be for our welfare. So if you surrender to the Lord and execute His instructions, that is for our benefit. Just like you surrender to the government and follow the traffic rules and regulations, it is for your welfare, for your benefit, for your good. Within that, you have free will. Whether to move on one lane, second lane, third lane, fourth lane. Yeah, if you are following the will of the Lord, order of the Lord, there is no karma for you. But if you cross, if you do anything on your own, that is karma. That is why the Lord says, don't do anything on your own. Yagnardhat karmanaha nyatra lokoyam karma bandhanaha. If you execute the order of the Lord, that is Yagnardhat karmanaha. Actually, that's when we become unlimitedly free. Just like a citizen is unlimitedly free. If you cross the speed limit or do what you want outside the government regulation, you go to the jail. Your free will is curtailed. So when you actually execute the order of the Lord, only then you will have unlimited free will. But people don't understand it. It's for our good. Anything you do outside of that, it is your karma. You become karma bandhana. That's when you become entangled with sinful reactions. Does it clarify? Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Right. Yeah. Those two are pretty solid ones. Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, these three things are my activities in line with the spiritual master's instructions, in line with the Shastra, in line with the Sadhus. And if all three parameters are satisfied, and if my authorities consider that as in line with the mission that we are all together doing, that is considered as bona fide. Yeah. No, thought can come because of your previous association. Because your mind has associated with so many things out of your free will, you have decided to associate with so many things. Dhyayato vishayan pumsaha. You see something, it makes an impression in your mind. And later that impression may come out at a different time as a thought. So thoughts are not in your control. It is a result of your previous association. But actions are in your control. How to act on that thought is in your control. Whether to act on that thought or to control that thought and channel it in a different way, that is in your control. God's will. God's will is anything that happens, the result is God's will. The thought, in one sense, also is under the God's will because you decided to engage or associate in a particular way. It generates particular thoughts. The God has set up that system. That is also happening by the will of the Lord. So, in one sense, everything is the will of the Lord. But you also have a role to play. Just like you go and put your hand in the fire. Yes, it happened by the fire burns by the will of the Lord. But you have a role to play because you didn't heed to the God's instructions and put the finger in the fire. So everything is the will of the Lord ultimately, but we have a role to play whether to follow that in a nice way or not follow that and end up getting hit by that. So either way, it is the will of the Lord, but we determine whether we become happy or we suffer. गंधराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय, जगत गुरु श्रील प्रभुपाद की, निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे, हरि हरि बोल.